My name is Neil Vandry. I'm the officiator, and it's my pleasure to have you here this evening. Here at the Church of Perpetual Life, we espouse the ideology of our prophet, Nikolai Fedorovich Fedorov. He's a Russian philosopher from way back when, turn of the century. I think he passed away just after 1901 or so. And his ideas are in line with ours, and the objective is to extend healthy human living to an unlimited lifespan. We, those of us who are members here, want to live as long as possible, as healthy as possible. We do believe that it's possible to live to be 200 or 300 or 500 years old and have the health and the physiology, the biological makeup of a 20, 30, 40-year-old person. And that is what we espouse here. We are a non-judgmental church. Many of our members are Christian or Jewish or atheist or Buddhist. There are many different things, and the things that bring us together is our quest for an unlimited lifespan. I'd like to quickly just ask the board of directors to stand for a moment. Those of you who are here, Greg Strom, the president of the board, Richard Daly, new member of the board, and Ben Best in the back, the treasurer and secretary on the board of trustees. Glad that you are here. I'd like to also point out that we have Devere here from Osiris. Devere, would you stand for a minute? Devere just formed a new cryonic organization down in Miami, South Florida, and I'm glad to have him here. He's been coming quite often. It's great to have you. I was speaking with Ben, and Ben mentioned that there's a new cryonic organization, that is to say, new to me, out of China, and they've just cryo suspended their first member. Give me the name again, Ben. Fin-Thing? Yin-Fing is the name out of China, and we'll be hearing, I think, more about them as that progresses. There was a rumor that there were two new cryonic organizations in China. There's, of course, Alcor out of Arizona, this is the Cryonics Institute, and out of Michigan. There's one in Oregon, and CryoRus is fairly famous in Europe. If you'd like to read about cryonics, if cryonics is of an interest to you, we have downstairs a table with cryonic information. You can find a little bit about it there. We here at Perpetual Life hold faith in future technologies and advancements of humanity to end aging, which makes death optional within our lifetime. This is our objective here today. We have two films. The first is a short TEDx talk, and we're going to go right into the films. After the films, we'll have a time where we can have discussion, maybe make some notes, and I'd like to discuss the films after we're done with them. So our first talk is from Nir Barzilai, and the name of this TEDx talk is How to Die Young at a Very Old Age. Doug, are we ready to run the TEDx talk? Okay, let's go for it then. How to Die Young at a Very Old Age by Nir Barzilai.
Thank you. So let me transfer you immediately to my world with this beautiful New York story. It's about a 100-year-old guy that walks into a life insurance office and wants life insurance. And the clerk looks at him and says, "You're crazy? We're not giving life insurance to 100 years old." And he said, "Well, that's not true. My mother is insured here." And he said, "How old is your mother?" He said, "She's 120. And is she okay?" He said, "Yes, she's fine." So clever clerks, he goes to the boss, and there's a lot of promotion here, and they come back to the elderly gentleman and they say, "You know what, we'll be happy to give you life insurance. In fact, why don't you come on Tuesday? We'll have all the papers ready and you'll be on your way." And the elderly gentleman says, "I'm sorry, but I'm busy on Tuesday." And they look at him and said, "Old man, what do you have on Tuesday?" He says, "Well, on Tuesday, my grandfather is getting married." "How old is your grandfather?" He said, "He's 150. He's 150 and he wants to get married?" He said, "He doesn't want to, but his parents puts lots of pressure." Seriously now, you guys out there, you know, Justin, Matthew, whatever your name is, your grandparents are looking at you and they see a lot of them if you remind them of them when they were young. But when we're looking at our grandparents, we have a total lack of imagination. We think they're a different creature. They were born like sick and old. And so what I want to tell you is that we, biologists of aging, are harnessing this science. We are able to move on and make sure that not only we can live longer, but live healthier. So let me tell you, first of all, the problem. The problem is depicted in a graph here, and you know we scientists have to have at least one graph in a lecture. And this graph depicts the relationship between age-related diseases, and there are few up there, and aging. You see all of them are going up. And those diseases are, you know, cancer in blue, and heart attacks in red, and Alzheimer and diabetes in orange, etc. And you see that it's very common for all of them. Aging is the major risk factor. Not only it's a major risk factor, but it's on a log scale, which means when you go from 20, 30 to 80, the risk goes from 1 to 1,000. Now, you know about risks. You know that cholesterol is a risk for heart disease. And you know how much of a risk it is? It's a threefold risk. But when you age, you go from 1 to 1,000, and it's common to all those diseases. So I'm coming to this field, and I'm looking at this graph, and I'm saying, hey, the only way to really make an impact is to delay aging. Because if you don't delay aging, you'll just switch one disease for another. And since then, it's actually, we know that it's true. You know, if you walk into the emergency room and have a heart attack, you can get a bypass, you can get a stent into your coronaries, but you know what happens within 2 years if you don't get another heart attack? You get diabetes or cancer or Alzheimer, because we just fixed the heart. We didn't delay the aging. Now, there's another problem. And this problem, you're going to help me. I'm going to actually ask you this question. Do you think that we humans age at a different rate? Do you think that maybe our biological and chronological age are not the same? So you think about your parents, your grandparents. Think about, you know, a 50-year-old guy that you know that maybe he looks like he's 40. Think of a 60-year-old guy that maybe he looks like 70. Think of those, and if you think that we humans age at different rates, everybody raise their hands, those who think so, and everybody looks around to see how many of you are thinking that way. Please, if we age at different rates, raise your hands. And look around. So you see, intuitively, you all think, thank you very much. By the way, I can't see anything, but, but I've asked these questions before, and I'm sure that almost 95%, those that are not asleep, are thinking intuitively that we can delay aging, that we age at different rates. And so how do we use this knowledge? You know, how do we use this knowledge in order to understand how come some people die earlier and how some people die later? So one of the approaches that I'm going to talk a bit is to take 100 years old, because we assume that 100 years old, their aging has been delayed the most. Okay, so what are we trying to achieve here? The upper bar here, that is blue and going to kind of pink and then red, represent what's happening now. Actually, it's more of an optimistic picture, because life expectancy in the United States is 80 years old, and this upper graph shows you until age of 85. But you can see that after age 50, people start getting sick, and they get sicker, and 10 years of their life they're spending being sick. So this is now. The centenarians I'm going to talk with you about are healthy, and they have a short period of time when they're sick, and then they die. So maybe we want to achieve that. You know, we might, when I write my grant, I'm not saying I want longevity. I'm saying I just want people to stop being sick. So live your 85 years, but don't be sick. And of course, the worst scenario, the nightmare that we have as scientists is that we achieve longevity without expanding the health span. Okay, so everybody just live longer being sick longer, and we don't want to do that. So let me tell you that we've collected a large number. We have almost 600 100 years old, or people that were really healthy at age 95. We have their children, we have their families, and we're looking for longevity genes and other factors that can influence their aging. And you see a picture that was taken like 1920s of those 4 guys that are siblings. They were all born between 1910 to 1920 to 2 parents in New York. And what's unique about them is each one of them have reached the age of 102. When the young sister, that way, died at 102, they were shocked, couldn't believe that. The other sister lived to be 110. The brother that's sitting died not long ago at 106. But I want to introduce you to my dear friend Irwin Khan, that is sitting down there with a rifle. And I want to show you a little clip. And the reason I want to show you this really clip is for you to understand. By the way, he's 108 years old now. This was taken when he was 105. He's still going to work every day. But the point to make is, if you're healthy at age 105 and life is good, then it's a pretty cool idea, and maybe we can imitate it. So let's see Irwin Khan.
In this office building on Madison Avenue, New York City, 104-year-old investment advisor Irving Khan is working hard, as he has since his career on Wall Street began in 1928. He shares his secret to a long and healthy life.
To wake up in the morning and have something to look forward to.
Irving's curiosity and keen business sense have led him to become a widely respected value investor, a member of the New York Stock Exchange, and chairman of Khan Brothers, the company he founded more than 30 years ago with 2 of his sons, including Thomas, who is the president. Irving works 5 days a week with his 67-year-old son and 29-year-old grandson, Andrew.
And how are you going to link the underwriting projects?
Playing an integral part in managing over $700 million in assets.
This is the Aztec website.
And Irving says not working is unthinkable.
Well, I would pay you if you took it away from me. I try to buy it back.
He believes mental challenge is key.
The important thing is to keep that brain going, you see.
50.2 million increased 20.8%.
To stay sharp, Irving reads materials online, 2 financial newspapers daily, and a wide range of nonfiction.
I read a lot of science. I read no fiction, no mystery stories, and no sex novels. So that leaves a lot of time for science.
And it was Irving's interest in science that led him to participate in the Longevity Genes Project at Albert Einstein College of Medicine, led by researcher Nir Barzilai. Nir and his team have recruited more than 500 healthy elderly, ages 95 to 112, and their children. Irving and Thomas are part of the study, as is Irving's big sister,
Muskets is 5 feet long.
108-year-old Helen Reichert, a former television host and fashion historian. So far, Nir and his team have found several gene variants that are more common in this group and protect against cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, and Alzheimer's.
Irwin has the CTP genotype that seems to be protective against several age-related diseases, including cognitive decline.
Nir's team has also found that some genes seem to protect against the effects of certain lifestyle habits. Irving, for instance, used to smoke, but quit to set an example for his children. And Helen smoked for more than 80 years.
You can see both from him and his sister that those genes have real amazing effect, not only on the fact that they're alive, but considering the fact that they were smoking, and this should have shortened their lifespan immensely.
And Irving believes long life has its benefits when it comes to business.
Because part of it is some of the advantages that you have when you're older. And you know what's rotten and what's fresh and what's good and what's bad. and you can participate on a higher level.
Just to make clear, he was talking about reading sex novels, okay? So, something very interesting about those people. This shows the cost of the last 2 years of life of somebody who dies at age 100 versus somebody who dies at age 70. And it's third the cost, okay? It's because they live longer and they're sick. They have a big health span, but they're sick shorter time. This has been consistent since 1993. This data is closely monitored. We call it the longevity dividend. If you calculate it, if we could be like that, it would save trillions of dollars. Okay? And maybe that's a motivation to start thinking about it. Of course, there's social security, there's a retirement age, there's a whole other issues, but there's a huge longevity dividend. Now, you might come and tell me, just a minute, you know, you're talking about longevity genes and things like that, but maybe it's their interaction with the environment. Maybe what's unique about those guys, they have done what the doctors tells us to do. Maybe they were eating healthy, they were thin, they were exercising, they were vegetarian maybe, they were drinking 1 cup of wine, they're of course not smoking. Well, this is what happens. Almost 50% of them were overweight or obese during their lifetime. In fact, 20% of them are overweight or obese when they're centenarians. 60% of the men and 30% of the men were smoking. You saw from Helen, if you smoke for 80 years, you do live long life. Exercise, now let's talk about just moderate exercise, like bicycling, housework, things like that. Less than 50% of them. Vegetarians, anybody's interested in being vegetarian, only 2% of the centenarians are vegetarians. And the point here is for them, okay, not for us, it didn't matter. And I want to show you the really disaster that happens to scientists. We published this paper, and the first to read it was Jay Leno. Let's see what he was thinking about it.
I want to do a study at Albert Einstein College of Medicine. I don't know where that is, but that's what it said. They say the secret to a long life may actually be more drinking, partying, and less exercise. The good thing about this combination is, even if you don't live longer, you don't care. Really, you don't care.
Okay, so you know, when that comes up, you're just worried that everybody's going to leave their habits and try, to do what they shouldn't do. So please understand, it's those very unique people like Irvin Kahn that for them it doesn't matter. For the rest of us, it matters. So what are we finding? So let me tell you a little bit. First of all, in nature, there's something really interesting. The little dogs live longer. The ponies live longer than the horse. Dwarfs in nature seems to live longer. So one of the things we're looking for is what happens in those growth hormones. And let me tell you that the growth hormones and other genes, not only growth hormone genes, have been manipulated in many, many animals. In the worms, in fruit flies, in mice, in rats, even in monkeys. And we can extend not only lifespan, but healthy lifespan in a variety of models by manipulating sometimes single genes or using drugs or using certain nutrients. We can modulate lifespan all over. So this is something that we've done again and again and again, and it's very possible to do. In centenarians, Dr. Millman from Einstein have shown that when you take those 100 years old and you ask what predicts their mortality, the answer was the people with the lowest growth hormone level have lived twice as long. Okay, they were already centenarians, but they lived twice as long than those who have higher growth hormone level. And other scientists from Einstein, Dr. Su, have shown that there are functional mutations in the growth hormone genes in clusters. And those people who have those mutations, by the way, are an inch shorter, not dwarf, but they're an inch shorter. But there are other mutations in genes that are associated with longevity that have nothing to do with growth hormone either. But all those have been shown from animals to centenarians. So imagine, we are at the entrance of the promised land. Okay? We know how to increase health span and lifespan in a variety of models. More than that, there are drugs that are being developed by pharmaceuticals, some of them based on our research, but they're not developed for aging, but for specific diseases. Together with Dr. Hassi Cohen in USC, we have a company that has a novel technology to replace proteins that are being decreased in the plasma. So those stories are everywhere. Also, there are drugs that are currently in human use, not for aging reasons, for other reasons, that have shown to prevent a variety of diseases. But they're not being prescribed now against aging. And by the way, this is the 20-minute talk. In the second date, I can talk more about the drugs out there that you could use. But with all that knowledge, what's hard to imagine is one thing. The FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, doesn't consider aging as something that can be prevented. And as long as that happens, you know, your insurance company is not going to pay your bill if you take a drug. And the pharmaceuticals are not going to develop the drugs because if nobody is going to pay for their use, why would they spend the money on that? So again, imagine we are at a stage where scientists have done all they can to do the preclinical studies and to show and demonstrate again and again that healthy lifespan can be extended. And we need you to be aware of that and help us demand it so that your aging will be just beautiful. Thank you so much.
That was a great piece. It's an enjoyable piece. We want to thank Andrew Michael for bringing this to our attention for Nir Barzilai's TEDx talk. And if you ever see anything like this or see a program that you think we should feature here, please bring it to my attention, and then we can share it with everyone. You know, at this point, I'd like to make mention of the fact that this is a summer event. We have typically, and let me ask this, how many people are here for the very first time at the Church of Perpetual Life? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Well, so we usually have, after our event, a big full-blown dinner. Tonight we don't have that. It's tonight's movie night, and also next month, August 24th, we'll be back here. It'll be a movie night next month, as well as an open microphone night. So I'd like to invite you back to come next month, and after that, September, we'll be back on schedule with a full dinner after our events. But next month, it'll be an open mic night, and we'll also be screening the movie First Do No Harm, a Meryl Streep movie. And that's what we'll be doing August 24th, the fourth Thursday of August. A lot of people are getting ready for the RAD Festival. A number of you I know are going. If you haven't yet signed up, you can still do so. It's an important thing to do. The RAD Festival is in San Diego. It's Revolution Against Aging and Death, RAAD Festival. And if you'd like some information after our event tonight, you can ask me about it, or we have just outside the doors here is our bookshelf with our library, the Perpetual Life Library, and next to that there are some applications for information on the RADFest if you'd like to pick one of those up. So I introduced the board of directors. I didn't introduce one of the directors here. Let's welcome up Alex Vidal, director here at Church of Perpetual Life. Alex has a word for you.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Neil. So thanks, everybody, for coming. Obviously, the new people, that's really cool. some of you know that it's been about 2 months ago since I joined the church officially as a staff member, which I'm really excited about, particularly as an activist myself, which I have been since I was really like 13. What many of you probably don't know is that I spent the better part of my teenage years as a Christian activist, as an evangelist. I was actually, going out to the mall and the movie theaters, not to go to the mall and the movie theaters, but to just like talk to people about, my youth group and invite, mainly people around my age. And so then later in life, the last few years, I've spent a lot of time doing political activism as a libertarian. And so in my new role here at the church is so exciting, as I mentioned, particularly because I really think that that's what this movement needs, is more activists. I think a lot of us here would probably believe that indefinite lifespans are actually something that is going to be inevitable at some point in human history. We will achieve that as humanity. The question is really like, will it happen in our lifetimes? Is it going to happen in the next 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 years? And that's not pre-written, of course, right? It depends on how much focus as a society goes into that, how much money and time and activism goes into that. So I just wanted to sort of not only introduce myself, but put a open call out to anybody who is interested in volunteering for the church, Perpetual Life, as I like to call it for short, or really any of the ideas that we promote here as far as human longevity and taking science and medicine and technology further and further to enhance humanity and make everybody's life better. If you've got any ideas as far as as Neil mentioned, we're going to be doing not only movie night, but an open mic next month. So if you have something that you think would be cool to talk about, but maybe you feel like it would just be a couple of minutes that you would have something to say about it, that's okay too. You don't have to come up and give some hour-long lecture. Obviously, as an open mic night, it's probably going to make sense to do shorter talks. And if you're interested in making it into actually like a presentation, but you don't have any experience with slideshow, PowerPoint, I'd be happy to actually help you do that. We can make a presentation for your talk. So, and as far as activism, I mentioned, I used to go out and be an evangelist. I actually foresee us as a community building up to doing things like that. Doing a weekend, outreach event where, we might hold up signs or do something, that we think would be worthwhile in order to promote these ideas. We've got so many seats here, and, this month is a little bit of a lighter crowd, but we definitely could be taking things to the next level, as far as I think we're also going to be soon hosting events, not just monthly, but twice a month at some point. So, but it's a matter of, how much focus we've got as a group, how many people we've got inviting people. So any sort of activism ideas or any sort of volunteering ideas that, you come up with, please do come talk to me. I'd love to talk to you about how you can help out with us, because there are a lot of opportunities for that. We need the people who are willing to invest the time. So, of course, I'm happy to talk about this tonight. So, after the movie, feel free to come talk to me downstairs. And that's about all I wanted to share. Thanks again for being here, everybody. And I think Neil will tell us a little bit about the movie.
Hey, Alex. Thanks, Neil. Good. Very good. All right, Director Alex Fennell. So if you have ideas, if you have things that you'd like to do, get with Alex, and he's got a lot of energy and looking forward to doing a lot of things here. All right, so the main event tonight is our next movie, which they're queuing up, and that is the National Geographic Channel has a new series called Year Million. It's if you have cable TV, you can get this, and you can go online and see them if you've missed a few of the past ones. So Year Million has a number of episodes of things that are going on that are projected to happen in the future. They're looking at what will happen when aging will be treated like a disease and a cure will be found for the disease of aging and for the, in my opinion, inevitable time when aging will be reversed for people. I think we're going to see that very soon. But here, our next movie, the main event, episode 2 from Year Million, the National Geographic Channel's new series, Year Million, and it's entitled Never Say Die. Doug, Never Say Die, Year Million. Yes, that's great. That's true. Yes. We've got people who are beaming in. Now, we're going to be cutting off at this point, as this is we can't continue to live stream now. So those of you who are watching the live stream, I encourage you to go to the channel, the National Geographic channel, and then you can plug in and watch episode 2, Never Say Die. And so we're going to cut that out now. But those of you who are live streaming, if you have any comments that you'd like to make about the movie, if there are any things or questions you'd like to interject at the end of the movie, we're going to bring it back up for comments from you as well. So those of you who are here, if you have any comments or questions or commentary, discussion, we'll have a small discussion afterwards. Those of you who are online, you can email me, and you'll find the email at our website, churchofperpetuallife.org. All right, Doug, thanks for that reminder. So here it comes.
Imagine a world where your 300th birthday looks more like your 30th. Sounds good, right?